I'm the founder of a social-fi project called Acid. We're a social, like previous panel mentioned about Cybernetic, and we're integrated with them. We're one of the most popular community-built applications on it, and almost all Cybernetic users have also used us. The last panel also talked about token bond accounts, and recently we just closed the pre-seed round by going directly to our community through our NFT, and that NFT is currently the second biggest token bound accounts NFT collection overall on Ethereum. Soon the largest. That's about who we are. Our goal is to build social utility protocols that will aim to unveil and proliferate our stories on chain. And by better telling our stories, we hope to bring more value to users in Web3 and also bring more users from Web2 into Web3. But my goal today is not to show my project or give a lecture. I hope to share some of my learnings as a builder of a Web3 social application, and I want to learn from you guys as well. So I hope it to be more interactive, and if you have any questions or disagree with what I say, so please feel free to interrupt anytime. My topic today is what does social really mean in Web3? And my goal is I will not be giving you an answer today, but it's more about raising some important questions of what to ask, because this area is so new. It's a very special topic. For other areas like DeFi or NFT or GameFi, there are some clear winners. There are some dominant players. Like in DeFi, you got Uniswap, SushiSwap. In NFT, there's Blur and OpenSea, and with gaming, there's STEPN and Axie Infinity. They're clear examples of winners, and when you talk about those topics, you have an idea of what their applications are look like. But whereas for Web3 Social, there's no winner as of today. There are some big players, like Lens Protocol or Farcaster or CyberConnect, but none of them have really sticky users yet, I think. And it's still very easy for anyone to come in and take away their users, like what Frontech did, because there's no user stickiness, there's no product market fit yet in SocialFi overall. So in current stage, because it's very early, it's more important to ask the right questions than rushing to build solutions. And what are some of the important questions to ask? Previous panels may be more about infrastructure, whereas I come from a perspective of application. For applications, you have to be more practical because you need to achieve some signs of product market fit or profitability within 2 years of your company, otherwise you're gonna die. So there are some factors that influence startup success. First of all, you need an idea. Secondly, you need a business plan. And thirdly, you need a team to execute it. And then you need funding. And then there's the timing of it. Can I see out of these 5 factors, which one do you think is the most important factor influencing the startup's success? Yeah, timing. Yeah, exactly. Like you got it. Most of the research shows that timing is by far the most important factor influencing a startup's success. It's not how good your idea is, because throughout the journey of running a startup, your idea is going to change and iterate multiple times. Team is also important, but with a good team at the right runtime, you can still not achieve success. A lot of the ideas that came from the 1990s are actually realized today. So a lot, like iPhone was imagined 10 years before it was born. A lot of the applications today that we have were already imagined in the 1990s, but because of various factors, they were not able to be successful, and most of them died in the internet bubble in the 2000s. So the first important question is when. The timing of market cycles and Web3 adoption is very important to a Web3 application builder. If we look at this current market cycle, if past cycles were any reference, there is usually 4 years between each one. From the 2017 peak to the 2021 peak, there were 4 years in between. It took 2 years for the last cycle to go to the bottom, and another 2 years to reach the top. And now, currently, we are 2 years from the last peak. So right now, we may be at a turning point where there are some bullish sentiments in the market, where most people think we have hit the bottom, and maybe we'll take another 2 years to reach the next peak. So we have a window of 2 years that things are probably going to be better from now on. And then if we look at the wider adoption of Web3, here's a chart of internet users over time. Right now, we have more than 5 billion people on the internet. We did that throughout 30 years of development. The first website came out in 1991. It has been more than 30 years. We reached 5 billion people with 30 years. This is the adoption for crypto assets. So currently, we have about 400 million crypto asset users. That includes everyone who uses crypto. So most of those users will be from centralized exchanges. To put that into perspective, what does 400 million people mean? Well, before we go there, I think the adoption of the blockchain will eventually catch up to internet adoption. So we should see similar number of users eventually once blockchain gets adopted. With 400 million users, if we map it on the timeline of internet users, we're looking at the year of 2000. In the year 2000, we had 400 million internet users. And now that's the crypto asset users that we have. That's not on-chain users, that's all users who have crypto assets. If we only look at on-chain users, I think it's only probably 1/10 of the total crypto asset holders. So we're looking at about 4 million active on-chain users. What does 4 million users mean in the growth of the internet? Now we're looking at the year 1991. That's actually when the first website came out. Our on-chain users, in terms of user numbers, are the same as the internet in 1991. And who here remembers what it was like to use the internet in 1991? Yeah, please. What did you use in 1991, and what was it like?
Mainly FTP.
FTP. I don't even know what that is. Well, basically, it's the same scenario as today, where we need to have a lot of knowledge about the blockchain in order to use it. And that's what 1991 was like for the internet. It's going to be better from now on, but I think it will still take us a lot of time. However, this time, the hurdle of adoption is now more about the technology. Like for the internet, there were a lot of people that were disrupted by this new technology, but it was mostly a positive for everybody. So it didn't have that resistance that we have now with crypto. With the internet, it was more about technology evolution. It's more on the technology side. We need more people building things so that more people adopt it. Whereas with crypto, it's more on the political side. Because we disrupt the banks and the governments of the world from every major country, they have an incentive to slow down the adoption as much as possible so that they can still keep their piece of cake. So this time the adoption resistance is more on the political side rather than technology. But still, I think it will take us less than 30 years to reach mass adoption. But I do think it's going to probably take us another 10 to 20 years to really achieve that. So like the takeaway for the first question is, within this market cycle, we probably hit about bottom. We have a 2-year window where things are going to look better. We will have a lot of opportunities. The market will probably grow 10x for crypto in the next 2 years. But then looking at the broader picture, we're still really, really early. And even after the next bull market, I think we will still be early. It will take another 2 or 3 market cycles for mass adoption to happen. The second important question for any startup builder is, who's your target audience? Who are you building for? Because that impacts your product design and what kind of product, how you want to build your product, and how you want to market your product. And I want to ask a question to the audience. Why are you using crypto? Like, why are you in Web3? Can anyone give me an answer? What brought you to Web3? Why are you here? Why are you here at the event today?
I'm anti-authoritarian,
Okay.
so anti-government.
Yeah.
But and crypto does bring like decentralization and an kind of equality for people, for humans.
If you're anti-government, why don't you start a new political party and try to bring down that government that you don't like. That may be a more effective way.
I'm Chinese.
The way too sad.
Any other volunteers?
I'm from Ukraine. I'm tired from our political system as well. I benefit blockchain power at the beginning of the war. We delivered it to charity within 24 hours. Thanks God to Vitaly Buterin. He donated 5 minutes immediately. Also, Ukrainians trust crypto more than banks, right? And I'm fabulous with banking system. 1 week ago, I transferred $5,000. It took me 1.5 hours to pass through KYC, Ukrainian bank, and crypto helps me to transfer money immediately. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I think like we have some very noble audience today. And today it's more focused on the technology, so we have a target audience who are more passionate about the ideals of this technology, and that's really good. But for the large majority of people in crypto, I think it wouldn't be a surprise that you will find that they are here for the money. Like this is a poll from the Bankless Bro, Ryan, last night. And this morning we took this screenshot. So out of more than 2,000 votes, the overwhelming majority voted for money. They're in crypto for the money. And that's the reality we have today. Now that's the audience of Ryan, the Bankless Bro. So their audience is probably more aligned to the ideals of Ethereum. So even then, people are saying they are here for the money. Yeah.
Is that necessarily like to make money though? It might be about like to, make money independent, but like money is like a driving factor. Like, yeah, I want Bitcoin to be the global money rather than like your fiat currency. Like, I don't necessarily see this as like, oh, I'm in here to make money.
Yeah. That could certainly be the truth. Like for myself, I'm here. Of course I need to return profit for my investors, but also I choose to work in this industry compared to other industries because of the things that people have talked about. But still, like the reality is, most of the users are here for the money. There are some users who are here for the tech. So if you are an infrastructure builder or a developer, systems builder, then that's fine. Like you can target the 26% of people who are here for the tech. But if you are a consumer application builder, you have to consider that most people are here here for the money. Whether they're here to make money or as a better way of make money, like that gentleman was talking about, they're still here looking to make some profits. And that's very important for application builders to keep in mind that that's the audience that you have. You may not want them, but that's just the reality. If you want to build in this current stage of the market, that's the people you're going to get. The last question is why? Why are we building in Web3 instead of Web2? Anyone want to give their answer? Yep.
Well, big tech is starting to crater because of regionalization, because they are so stuck under the regional rules. So I see Web3 as more of a spreading out so that we don't end up just under the influence of whatever regional control.
Yeah. That's great. Like again, that's the ideals of blockchain. That's why we are all here today. But then if you tell an investor that, they probably wouldn't be investing in you because of that ideology that you hold. At the end of the day, as a startup founder, you still have to attract investment, and investors are here because they want to make more money from investing in you. So at the end of the day, this is not just for Web3, but for all startup builders overall. Like, you are doing something because you think you can maximize the value you generate with the resources that you have. And here, if we choose to build in Web3 instead of Web2, it has to be because we think we can generate more value in Web3 than if we were building in Web2. Otherwise, you can just build in Web2. If you can create more value that way, that's great. There's no reason to build in Web3. But what does that mean? Like we also talked about, we're still very early in terms of the adoption of the blockchain. We're at the stage of 2000 for the year of 1991, depending on how you look at crypto adoption. We have very few users in terms of the overall number of internet users. And then the second question before, most people are here for the money, and that's the ugly reality of this side of building in crypto. And the implication then for why we're building in Web3 has to be taken into consideration of the previous two answers. So there's a simple formula there. As a startup, you eventually need to make revenue, and how much revenue you get for a social fi application is the revenue you get from each user per year, and then times the number of users that you have, and then you get your total revenue per year. So what could that mean for a startup in a social application? Has anyone heard of the application called BeReal? Raise your hand if you've heard about BeReal. Yeah, so we have a few people that have learned about it. Now, BeReal is a startup in Web2 social. It has achieved at its highest 73.5 million number of users. I think that's achievable if you're building social in Web2. BeReal reached that with $30 million in funding. So with $30 million in funding, they reached 73 users. If they become successful of monetizing those users, so like Twitter, they're charging about $12 per user per month. If we say they will make roughly the same, $100 per user, that means about $7 billion per year. Now that's a great business. That's a lot of revenue for a startup in Web2 social. Now, if we're building in Web3 and the goal is to generate more value in Web3 than Web2, we have to beat BeReal. So if BeReal can make 7 billion, we need to be making, say, 8 billion. So to justify that we can build in Web3. And in terms of on-chain active users, we have about 4 million in total. OpenSea has about 1 million active users. So we can use that as a benchmark. Say we become as big as OpenSea and become the dominant application in SocialFi, and we get 1 million users. What does that mean if we want to beat BeReal in terms of total revenue per year? That means we have to generate $8,000 per user. Now, yeah, so that's for something for people to think about. If you're building in Web3 and the social application, your target audience is so small, you have to extract a lot of value from each user for it to be worth it and for it to make sense for your investors. After answering those three questions, the timing, the who we're building for, and the why we're building in it, so the takeaway is we're still very early in blockchain adoption. We have a 2-year window of a great opportunity for the market to probably grow 10x. We're building for people who are mostly here for the money, especially if you're building a social application or consumer application in Web3. And then we're building in it eventually as a business. We have to be profitable and we have to return value to our investors, and it has to be a sustainable business. There are generally two types of approach to building a social fi application. One is ideology first, where they put the ideals of the blockchain at the forefront. And the other is asset first. So given what we have now, since blockchain is mainly a ledger of money, like it's at the end of the day, in its essence, it's a distributed ledger that records money. So after all, it comes back to the asset itself that has value on the blockchain. Based on these two different approaches, there are two examples. One is Sparkcaster. I think they appeal more to the ideology first type of approach, where their main value proposition is decentralization, user ownership, permissionless. I should really put Warpcast there because that's the application where Sparkcaster is protocol. But with Warpcast, they got a funding of $30 million, and their highest DAU today is 4,600 people. So with $30 million in investment, they reached a daily active user of 4,600 people. That's taking the ideology first approach. The other one, on the other extreme, is Spreadtag. The value proposition of Spreadtag, I think, is Like it's a bombing curve, and be early. If you're early, you can make money. That it's very clear in their approach. They call themselves a marketplace for your friends, so they're not shy about it. They're pretty clear about like all of the design of the product is geared towards for people to be able to make money. In fact, the only feature that they had is that's social related is a very simple chat. For a long time, that since it came out, all the functionality, all the social functionality it had is to be able to send a simple text message. It didn't even support images. It took them a few months to start to support images. So you can see, like here, with Warpcast, it's more like a replacement for Twitter. That's people's impression of it. It's still very much content focused. Its main value proposition, as compared to Twitter, is decentralization, user ownership, permissionlessness. Whereas with Friendtag, it doesn't talk about all of those things. It just focuses on the money-making side. But they are able to achieve the highest DAU of 75,000 people. And they haven't disclosed how much funding they raised, but I think they probably raised very little. To my knowledge, they have a team of 4 people on them. They got a lot of help from the investor. What was the investor? Paradigm. Yeah, Paradigm. But I think the help from Paradigm is mainly on the reputation side. So before Paradigm, they already had a small success, and then their users started to reduce, and then at that moment they released their investment from Paradigm. But they didn't disclose how much they had. They were already successful at that point. That's an example of the difference between these two approaches. But does it mean that asset first approach is always correct? I think it's on a spectrum. Like we need to have both. Whereas Friendtag is on the extreme where they focus on the asset part, and Farcaster more on the ideology part. We also have Lancer, which is more in the middle and leaning towards asset first a little more. But considering the 3 questions that we answered previously, for application builders, I think we have to go crazy on the asset first approach. Unless you've raised $50 million, then you can ignore what I'm talking about because you can last 3 market cycles. But for most startup founders building in the applications, in consumer applications, if you have to reach profitability within 2 years, in this current market environment where we have a very small audience who are very focused on making money, we have to take the asset first approach because that will produce a user experience that was not possible before. Like only when people think about you not as a Twitter replacement can you create something different that people will have a reason to really use it. And now I want to open up the floor to the audience. What do you think the social fi application space will look like maybe 1 year or 5 years or 20 years from now?
Good question. 20 years.
Sorry?
I think the Web3 social world, yeah, so will become in more than 10 years, I think.
So, like, you mean it will take more than 10 years to reach mass adoption for
Yes.
Web3 social?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not really fair to compare Friendtag with Farcaster.
Warpcast. I should have put Warpcast there.
Yeah, I think even now, the Farcaster DAU is actually around 2,000. I think the 4,000 is just
That's
right
the
after
point.
initial list.
Yeah.
So it's dropped a little bit because
It's even
there
less
are a
than
lot
that.
of farmers there.
Yeah.
But the same thing also applies for Friendtag. I think for now the DAU is about 1,000 rather than 75,000 because
Yes.
the activity has been dropped by quite a lot.
Yes.
But I do like the analogy here. It's like the 2 spectrum, right? One is hyper financialized, like you can literally buy a friend. For people you know, I think one interesting social interaction is like sometimes they try not to sell keys of their friends. Like, oh, why do you sell my keys? And on the other spectrum, it's more like pure social with very little financial related aspects. But I guess, despite the fact that Farcaster is still trying to be the social protocol that one day might reach 1 billion users, they now kind of come to reality and realize, oh, because of all the social, all the complexity comes with crypto, like the wallets, gas fees. In the short term, they have to build something that's addressed the crypto native audience.
Yeah.
Despite that, they still want to be like mainstream. And the same goes for CyberConnect, Lens, and I think interesting for CyberConnect. I think like halfway they just start to build account abstraction related things, and I guess for Lens it's more consistent. Like from day one, they realize it's not going to be, they won't be competing with Twitter. They will be a social network for a lot of crypto native features, like for creators to monetize and like V2, they have open actions. So you'll be able to have like on-chain transaction right in the protocol. I think in the nearest future, that will be the middle ground where all social protocol kind of converge, because you don't want to build a protocol because no one will use that because Twitter is 100 times better. But also at the same time, friend tag is not consistent, not sustainable. Like the hype will goes down. It will goes down like shitcoin, like all shitcoin does. So it will be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I fully agree with everything you said there. So by taking that ideology first approach, Farcaster is, I think, aiming for the longer run. Their appeal comes from, I think, more after mass adoption happens. After that mass adoption, when everyone is on crypto, then Farcaster is obviously a better alternative to Twitter because it's decentralized with only user ownership and permissionless. However, based on their DAU as of today, like you mentioned, they realize they are running into problems with their product market fit. With the $30 million that they raised, if they take that ideology first approach, I don't think there's really a way for their investors to get a return. I mean, they can still release a token and then make money from that token because of the reputation of all of their investors, like a lot of blockchain projects do. But I think that's more like cheating. That's like making money with the reputation and your relationships. It's not less about the product. Just on the product side, I think it's going to be very difficult for Farcaster to monetize their 4,000 daily active users and return a reasonable investment ROI for their investors. Whereas for FriendTech, although yes, they hit a peak and they're now going down, they probably die in a few months. In terms of what they have achieved for their users, for the team, and for their investors, they've already been successful. Like the people who have invested in FriendTech would have already made money. So it has been a successful business in that sense. But the FriendTech is focusing on the extremely short term. It's building purely for the audience of today. They probably don't have a longer roadmap in mind. They probably don't like there's basically they probably only aim for the short term without too much consideration for the longer term roadmap of the products. But we gotta find something in the middle. Like as a startup builder, we have to survive the short term, be successful in each small market cycle so that you accumulate enough gunpowder that will hopefully last you through until mass adoption one day. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, so it's nice talking to everyone today. Hoping to connect with everyone. We also have some merchandise. It's limited edition t-shirts from us.
Yes.
So before you go today, make sure you pick up one of those.
If you're a t-shirt collector, don't miss this, okay? Come to say hi to me and yeah, ready to for you to collect. Thank you.